You know, a while back I made a video talking about the PlayStation Portal and how I just didn't understand why it existed. And the Sony ponies ripped me to shreds to the point where I actually had to block somebody on this channel. Like, it was that bad. And I was just kind of being a smartass, but also just, hey, why does this thing exist? I don't understand. And nobody could give me a valid answer, and nobody has. So now we have the PS5 Pro, and I have some positives to say about it, but I'm not even going to bother with the kid gloves this time. If the Sony ponies want to make comments, that's fine, but I'm just going to give my brutally honest thoughts. And if you're not comfortable with anything outside of the PlayStation echo chamber that you exist in, you should either go watch a video that exists within that echo chamber, or maybe grab your emotional support Astro plushie, because we're just going to dive right in. So, PS5 Pro. Let's talk about it. So for some positives, we have graphical improvements, as I would expect. It's the Pro upgrade, midlife upgrade, whatever you want to call it. We have 67% more GPU compute units, which will actually net some real-world benefits, and 28% faster memory, which is also pretty impressive. Sony claims that it's going to give a 45% overall gameplay rendering improvement. I'm curious if they're using that new AI upscaling to get to that number, or if that is native resolution. I guess we'll see. Oh yeah, AI upscaling is a thing now on these consoles. I thought it was before, but maybe just not the way that they're doing it now. The way it seems like they're doing it now is very similar to DLSS from NVIDIA, or I think it's called FRS from AMD. The idea is that you can play something at a 4K resolution, and the GPU renders it at a lower resolution, which is easier on the GPU, so you can get higher frame rates. And then using an AI processing unit, it takes whatever image is coming through from the GPU at that lower resolution and then scales it up to a higher resolution so it looks sharper, looks almost like native resolution. That's the idea, and that's why I said I'm wondering if they got native resolution figures for that 45% increase, or if they got those numbers while using the AI upscaling. Not 100% sure. Either way, it is really cool to see those improvements. Not even going to say that that's a bad thing. It is a good thing to see those graphical improvements. Improved hardware is improved hardware. I can't be negative about that. There's also improvements like a bigger SSD, so 2 terabytes now, which means you can hold maybe 50 games instead of 10. And then you also have Wi-Fi 7 for faster downloads, even though I never really had issues with the download speeds on the Wi-Fi side. It was always from the PlayStation server sides, but that's also a problem that I've had with Xbox, so whatever. Improved Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi 7. If you happen to have a 7 router, there you go. So there's some improvements. The other improvement that actually kind of caught my interest was the ray tracing improvements. Ray tracing has been around now for the current generation of consoles, the Xbox and the PS5, and we've had it for quite a while on the PC side, but I just love seeing improvements to ray tracing. I think that ray tracing lighting in games is actually the next step. I think we're going to see that really become more important as the years go on, because it really is quite the game changer. You see incredible looking scenes because the lighting just comes naturally instead of being pre-baked. I love it, and Sony improved on it. And I know games that Sony made that take advantage of it include things like Gran Turismo, all the Spider-Man games. I think it might have been in God of War 2. I don't remember, but either way, it's really cool to see that some nice improvements. And lastly, on the positives, there are supposed to be 50 games for the PS5 that are going to be PS5 Pro enhanced when the console launches, which is an impressive number considering that I don't even know if I can name off 5 PS5 exclusives, but hey, apparently there's going to be 50. Now we're going to dive into the issues I have. I take issue with the fact that Sony's improving the hardware of their console before fixing the core issue of their platform. And the core issue of their platform is the fact that these consoles don't have games to sell them. You got Ratchet and Clank. That's really not going to be something that somebody's going to go out and buy a game console for. You have The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. Oh wait, that was made for the PS4 and got brought to the PS5. And don't even get me started on the remaster of The Last of Us. That's a PS3 game that got remastered to the PS4 and can be played on the PS5. This was the problem I had when I made my video talking about how I sold my modern consoles. Nobody except Nintendo is making games that sell consoles. Period. I can play the original Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PC. I can play the God of War games on the PC. Everything that Xbox makes comes out on PC now, and the only game company that's making games that sell consoles is Nintendo, and they're doing it with an underpowered tablet from 2017. And if they can pull it off with that, then there is no reason, in my mind, that Sony should be improving on the console hardware before they start making games that make people actually want to buy them. This business strategy that Sony's taking of just making things because they know that their BO-laden, unhealed lobotomy fanboys will buy it no matter what is not a sustainable business model. There is going to be a point where those lobotomies heal and the fanboys put on deodorant and they realize that it is not the only place to play games and that they can get either a better experience or more of what they want on another platform. And until Sony realizes that, we're going to keep getting these console improvements without getting games that sell the consoles. And speaking of which, this console improvement is going to run you $700. Well, $700 if you're going all digital, but if you're like me and you like to own the discs for your game consoles, then you get to pay an extra $80, which means you're paying $780 for a console that has the same problems as the $500 and $400 consoles that it is supposed to be running alongside that are less powerful. Just out of curiosity, I did try to make a gaming PC that had comparable hardware, in my opinion, to the PS5 Pro. Of course, it's hard to tell because all of these things are just little plastic gaming PCs with proprietary software and hardware only made to play games and nothing else, but I digress. I tried to get close and I ended up at about $130 over what the PS5 Pro costs. Now, that's not the end of the world in my opinion, because if you want to get a gaming PC, the biggest benefit is the upgradability. So with me going with an AMD platform on the PC, you could go with a lower end CPU and upgrade later. You could go with less RAM or a lower spec GPU or less storage and then just change those parts out later. Whereas with the PS5 Pro, you can upgrade the SSD, which is cool, or you could spend $80 on a disk drive. Okay. And look, I did read your comments in the video where I sold my consoles and I just use a PC now for gaming, both in the living room and in my bedroom. And I saw a lot of the comments saying that you just don't want to deal with Windows. And that's completely understandable. There is something to be said about the simplicity of turning on a console and just playing the games. But here's the thing, with my PC in the living room, it's set to boot up and immediately load up Steam Big Picture mode. So it just runs, for me, like a console with very little tweaking. And the only time I have to deal with Windows is if I feel like watching a YouTube video on the web browser, which is in Windows, or if I need to run an update. Those are the only two times I have to deal with Windows. Everything else is literally in Big Picture mode. And even the VR setup, where I plug it in and just use a VR headset on my PC, it all just handles itself with controllers. I don't have to grab a mouse and keyboard for hardly anything. But I digress. My point with this PS5 Pro is the fact that it's a hardware upgrade seeking a purpose, because you don't need all of this crazy hardware to be competitive in this current games environment. It took from 2017 until probably about 2022 for people to start getting upset with the underpowered nature of the Nintendo Switch. But even now in 2024, people still buy the Switch. You want to know why? It's because the games that are exclusive to that console are selling that console. Nintendo could have easily just said, hey, here's the new Switch, it's ready, enjoy your games. But they haven't. And I'm guessing it's because the Switch still sells like gangbusters, despite it being a 2017 tablet that is hopelessly underpowered for 2024. And yet here Sony is launching a midlife Pro refresh for the PS5 when I can't even name 50 games for the PS5, even though they're saying there are going to be 50 PS5 Pro ready titles when the console comes out. They need to fix the core problem of their platform, which is the games, just the lack of games that sell consoles before they go making consoles. It's the games that sell the consoles, not the consoles that sell because they're consoles and then you get games for them later. That's not how it works. That's never how it works. The only reason Microsoft exists in the gaming space with the Xbox at all is because Halo sold the Xbox. So the fact that Sony has lost sight of that kills me. Either way, let me know what you all think in the comments. This was not a scripted video. This was just a rant because the last time I put time and effort into trying to be diplomatic and scripting a video about something that Sony had, I just got ripped to shreds. So I figured I'd just meet it head on, tell the Sony ponies that they're lobotomite BO and just move on. So either way, let me know what you all think about the PS5 Pro in the comments. Do you think that it's smart that Sony's charging $700 for this thing plus $80 for the disc drive? Do you think the games are going to be worth it? Do you think the games are worth it now? All those things in the comments below. I'm going to be doing more scripted, less ranty videos later, so if you want to see those and not this, go ahead and subscribe. If you want to see this as well as those, go ahead and subscribe. If you like this video, leave a like, and aside from that, I will see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there, and have a good one.